With artificial intelligence, we are summoning the demon. You know those stories where there's the guy with the pentagram and the holy water, and he's like, yeah, you sure you can control the demon? Didn't work out.
It begins with a scroll, a swipe, the endless feed of doom. Dark news headlines, politically charged comments, fear, anxiety. You feel it. It consumes you, and yet you cannot look away.
Algorithm of shaitan, that you scroll from people dying and crying to people laughing and enjoy. You scroll from devastation to complete meaningless nonsense. That's often degenerate nonsense. And that's how the algorithm feeds you, because it desensitizes you and it makes you indifferent to it all. That's not who we are.
This is no accident. This is no coincidence. This is by design. The devil's algorithm is at work. But is it just a modern addiction? Or could it be something far darker? Could this be part of the Dajjal system, a global web of deception, lies and manipulation, all leading toward the ultimate deception foretold in the scriptures of Islam?
Don't scroll from the dead baby to a laughing idiot. Scroll from the dead baby to some moments with the Quran and dua. Go from that image to a moment of reflection. Because otherwise that social media is going to kill whatever is left of your fitrah, just like it's doing for everything else. Whatever is left of your natural goodness will go with that. Don't stop that human element that Allah Azza wa Jal put inside of you to meaningfully engage when you do see. It's far more beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The algorithm of the devil.
The term doomscrolling didn't even exist a decade ago. But now it's become part of our daily lives. News of war, environmental catastrophe, political chaos, it's all there, ready for you to consume, one headline after another. But this isn't just information, it's manipulation. The devil's algorithm, designed not to serve you knowledge, but to serve you fear. These algorithms are designed to learn everything about you, what triggers you, what keeps you on the app. And they feed you more of that. They exploit fear because fear is what keeps people engaged the longest. This is not a harmless addiction. This is rewiring our brains, creating addiction circuits that mirror the same patterns as gambling and drug abuse. But it doesn't just end there. The youth are most vulnerable, with depression rates skyrocketing, suicidal thoughts tripling, and a generation growing up more anxious and divided than ever before. But even the elderly, those once resilient to the dark pull of technology, are not immune. They too are trapped, radicalized in their own echo chambers of fear and hate. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, warned us of a time when the world would be consumed by deception. The coming of the Dajjal, the Antichrist, an era where falsehoods would spread faster than truth, where people would be distracted, confused, and lost in a web of lies. The Dajjal, or the Antichrist system, is a system of falsehood. It is a system that pulls people away from truth, away from their spirituality, and entangles them in materialism, confusion, and fear. This is what we see happening now with doomscrolling, the overwhelming flow of misinformation, anxiety, and divisive content.
When you're scrolling on social media, you're no longer getting the novelty, but you're continuing to do it and you almost don't know why you're doing it. At that point, it shifts over to something that's a bit more like an obsessive compulsive behavior, where we can define an obsessive compulsive behavior where the obsession leads to a compulsion. So the obsession is a thought, the compulsion is a behavior, but the acting out of the compulsion merely serves to increase the obsession. Right? This is very different than being obsessed with food or obsessed with cleanliness.
There's no payoff.
Right, exactly. There's no anxiety relief by carrying out the compulsion. With OCD behaviors, like scrolling social media, the dopamine quickly wanes, and then you find that you're just sort of, and we've all been there, you're scrolling, you're like, why am I doing this? This isn't that interesting.
What's even more frightening is the effect. As we doom scroll, we become numb to the reality around us. We feel helpless in the face of these constant crises. This is learned helplessness, a state where people believe that no matter what they do, nothing will change. This mirrors the prophecy of the Dajjal, where people will be led into a state of confusion and dependency on false saviors, unable to distinguish right from wrong. Our children, the future generation, how are they affected? Teenagers spend hours upon hours on their phones, drawn deeper into a digital abyss that offers no peace. Studies now show that those who engage in constant doom scrolling are 200% more likely to suffer from depression. But this is not just about bad news. This is about how the devil's algorithm exploits their fear and insecurities.
The algorithms that they've incorporated function on the most powerful way to keep people doing a behavior, or an animal for that matter, is intermittent random reward, or random intermittent reward, that you don't know when you're going to hit the jackpot. So you're scrolling, and then you see something. Typically it's very high, what, in nerd speak we'd say signal to noise. So if you're reading some interesting things, this came out in the news, this came out, and then it's all of a sudden a riot, or a person that is base jumping off a building, or for people that are scrolling looking at bodies or something like that, live bodies. Hopefully people aren't looking at dead bodies. But look, if something's very tragic, then that has this gravitational pull. And then what happens is you start getting the system working for that next dopamine hit that you don't know when it's going to come. It's just like gambling.
But what if all of this was designed intentionally? What if we're not just victims of a flawed system, but targets? These algorithms are built to keep you hooked. They are driven by profit, not concern for your mental health. The more you engage, the more money they make. It doesn't matter if the content is tearing you apart mentally. It only matters that you stay. Hidden behind the sleek interfaces of our favorite platforms are lines of code that knows you better than you know yourself. Hidden psychological profiles are created for every user, and with every like, every click, every comment, these profiles become more accurate, more powerful. What started as a tool to connect people has now become a weapon to control them. So how do we break free from this grip? How do we protect ourselves from becoming further entangled in the Dajjal's system of deception? The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, taught us to seek truth, to resist falsehood, and to stay grounded in our faith. The Dajjal system thrives on our distance from spirituality. The more disconnected we are from our values, the more susceptible we become to manipulation. But by returning to our roots, we protect ourselves from this web of deception. The solution lies not in abandoning technology, but in controlling it. By being aware, by setting boundaries, by reconnecting with our communities, and by turning back to our spiritual teachings, we can escape the grip of the devil's algorithm. Will we continue to scroll, feeding the darkness, or will we rise above it, seeking truth in an age of deception? This is not just a documentary, this is a warning. The battle for truth is on your screen. You must choose. Which side will you be on? If you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, and subscribe, as it will help the algorithm to promote the video to many more audiences. Consider this as an act of charity.